Okay, let's discuss Trig Note Card 5. We're going to talk about sign chart for trig functions. In other words, we're going to talk about if an angle lies in a certain quadrant, is the sine, the cosine, the tangent positive or negative? Okay? And so I give you this chart here, and it tells you that in quadrant 1, all three, sine, cosine, and tangent, are positive. Now, I will say this. If one of these three are positive, then it should go on to say that its reciprocal function is either positive or negative. They are whatever sine, cosine, and tangent are. For example, in quadrant 1, tangent is positive, and cotangent is the reciprocal function, so cotangent would also be positive in quadrant 1. In quadrant 2, we see that we have different things that are positive and negative, and so we do in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. I have a pretty easy way of remembering what's positive and negative. In quadrant 1 here, if you would just remember this saying, all students, I guess I should write it out, all students take calculus. If you remember this little saying, then in the first quadrant, all three are positive. In the second quadrant, only sine is positive. In the third quadrant, only tangent is positive. And in the fourth quadrant, only cosine is positive. And if you can remember that, then you've got it. You can tell which ones are positive or negative, so forth and so on. Let's look at some examples. Let's say we have our XY plane here, and we have quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. So sine of 150 degrees. Well, from the previous lessons, we know that we need to start in standard position along the x-axis here each time. I've got 150, that's positive. So I'm going to be going in a counterclockwise direction. If I go this far, that's 90 degrees. So I need 60 more degrees, which is going to end up over here in quadrant 2. And if I'm in quadrant 2, is sine positive or negative? And the answer is, remember, all students take, let me circle these to make it. All students take calculus. In quadrant 2, sine is the only one positive, so that's why it's positive. Look at another example. Cosine of 225 degrees. Again, it's positive, so I'm going to be going in a counterclockwise direction. Don't want to use a highlighter. Over to here, you should see that's 180 degrees, and I need 45 more, so that's going to be halfway between here and this bottom part of the y-axis, or the 270 degree mark, so I end up over here. Something that maybe I should have said, maybe I've taken for granted that you know, that over here this can be 0 degrees or 360 degrees. And when I get up to here, this is going to be 90 degrees. And when I'm over to here, this is 180 degrees. And down here is 270 degrees. So again, over to here is 180, and I'm going to 225, so I need 45 more, so I'm over here. That means I'm over here in quadrant 3, And I've got cosine, so again I have all students take calculus. So that's why you see that the only, in quadrant 3, the only trig function that's positive is tangent. So cosine is negative. Okay, let's do another one. Tangent of 330. 330, I go all the way to here, that's 270, and for 330 I need 60 more, so I'm down here in quadrant 4, and in quadrant 4 only cosine is positive, that's why tangent is negative. Okay, let's do sine of 300. Well, sine of 300 takes me all the way over here into quadrant 4, and again only cosine is positive in quadrant 4, so that's why sine of 300 is negative. Cosine of 315, that takes me over to quadrant 4. Therefore, since I'm in quadrant 4, that means that cosine is positive in quadrant 4, therefore cosine of 315 degrees is positive, and so on. But you do all of these problems this way, it's pretty much the same thing. It's very easy if you remember all students take calculus. And then if you can make these angles like we did with note card 4 and the other homework assignment, then you should be able to find where the angle lies, and wherever the terminal side lands, that's what quadrant it falls in. And then you use all students take calculus to see whether which of the three functions are positive or negative. And that's it.